So the Pittsburgh Penguins get back to basics and as a result get back to their winning ways, defeat the Ottawa Senators 1-0. Yes, you heard that right. 1-0 last night in Pittsburgh, tie up the best of 7 series at 1 apiece before we head to Ottawa for Game 3 tomorrow night. Now this game was insane. Pittsburgh dominated from start to finish and they just got very unlucky. The luck that they had on their side in the first 2 rounds has come back against them this round. They've hit 5 posts this series already. We're only in Game 2. Pittsburgh could very well be up 2-0 right now if it was not for the 4 posts they hit in Game 1 and the 1 post they hit last night. Gensel had a wide open opportunity and hits the post, and then to go along with the 4 posts they hit in Game 1, well, the 2 crossbars and the 2 posts. Pittsburgh really should have scored a couple goals, 3 or 4 goals this game. But like I said, that post and Craig Anderson was solid once again. 2 very good games in a row for him, which is very annoying because he's been very inconsistent these playoffs, and he had to choose now to start being consistent, which is very annoying, just as Pittsburgh had to choose now to have its luck run out. But it was bound to happen eventually. Alas, the Penguins still won 1-0 anyways. A lot of this talk during the game on CBC and on NBC about how Pittsburgh was fighting and getting frustrated. You saw shots of Malkin and Kessel going at it on the bench. You saw Sullivan trying to calm them down. You saw Kunitz laughing. You saw Rick Tocchet trying to laugh and calm himself down. But Mike Sullivan says not to worry. They do this thing all the time. I've seen many games where crowds being horny are constantly going at it because they both want to win. They're both competitors, and they both get mad when they don't have the puck. And they usually play well. It shows that they're emotion and shows that they're engaged. And last night was no different. Right after that happened, 6.5 minutes left in the game. Malkin, beautiful play, toe drag, dekes out the defender, passes it to Phil Kessel. He takes a shot. Peugeot blocks it. It comes back to Phil Kessel. He gets his own rebound, shoots it again. Beautiful goal. Top cheddar, that's all she wrote. 1-0, the Penguins would hang on to win the game, and Ottawa had still not had a shot in the third period at that point. It took them until about 5 minutes left in the third to get a shot. Most of the chances were not great. They did not get any sustained pressure until about a minute left in the game after they pulled the goalie when Marc-Andre Fleury was challenged. Like, I'm sure he had a nap somewhere in there. I'm sure he had some snacks. He could have watched a movie, and that was a very hard spot for him to be in because when Ottawa did have those chances, he had to come up sharp after not having a lot of saves. So Marc-Andre Fleury, despite not having a lot of shots, had a difficult night because it's hard to stay engaged and to stay focused as a goalie when you don't get many shots in you, and then when you do, they're not great, and then you have a Fleury at the end. Ottawa finished with 7 shots in that period, most of them coming at the end, and Fleury had to come up and make some huge saves. So kudos to Marc-Andre Fleury for having another great game. I did not think he could keep up this level of play, just based on his numbers overall and his career numbers in the playoffs, especially now that Matt Murray's back. He tends not to play well when another guy's there, and I don't think his leash is that long. But, he's proven me wrong so far. He's been very solid so far. He's only had a few games where he's not been great in playoffs, and it's been a good goaltending battle. It was interesting, coming into the series, Pittsburgh was the high-flying Penguins. They had scored most goals in the playoffs, most goals in the regular season, and Ottawa was very comfortable in these 1-0, 2-1 games. Well, Pittsburgh may have lost the battle of attrition last night when they lost 2 players, but they won the game and it was 1-0. So Pittsburgh is a versatile team. They can play in many different situations, as Mike Sullivan said, many different styles of game, and I like how the players had emotion on the bench. Mike Sullivan mentioned that when he got there, it was totally dead. There was no life. Pittsburgh was there was nothing to that team. Mike Johnston could not do anything. No one was talking. No one cared. It was just lifeless. He injected that energy back into the team, and I thought he had a great quote last night when he said, "It's hard to have success in the absence of emotion." And I thought that was great because he says, basically, in order to win and have success, you need to be emotional. You need to be passionate. And he'd much rather, and I'd much rather have a team like Kessel, like Malkin going at it, than a team that just doesn't care and is just dead and lifeless, as Pittsburgh was before Sullivan came last season. And Sullivan, once again, showed that he's able to adapt. No Justin Schultz, no Brian Ross. Brian Ross goes down early. A questionable hit from Yanfanov. A nice hit, but it was a bit questionable. He's probably concussed. He leaves the game, and then just 10 minutes into the game, Justin Schultz is hit from behind. Another questionable hit. Looks like he hurts his shoulder falling into the boards where he fell awkwardly and he held it going off the ice. He's out. Pittsburgh would have 5D, one of which was Ron Hainsey, who's forced to play more, LOL. Basically, no one who can move the puck now that Schultz is out, now that Daly's out, now that Letang is out, and you have someone like Mark Streit, but he's not playing for some reason. And they're missing one of their speediest players and a guy in the top line, Brian Rust. What does Sullivan do? Ensures Connor Sheary put Sid and the kids back together, and even though they did not score, you could tell Crosby's getting frustrated with his line mate's lack of finish. He was making things happen. Sheary really injected his speed. He's looked a lot better the last couple of games. I don't think he's fully healthy. He hasn't scored a goal yet these playoffs. He's not been as effective as he was last year, but I'm starting to see his speed a bit more, and that really helped them. Having Hagelin back was huge too because he was able to inject his speed. Yes, you didn't have the tenacity and the warrior-ness of Patrick Hornqvist in this game, but aside from Erik Karlsson, Ottawa's not an overly fast team, so having Hagelin back in really allowed the Penguins to assert their speed. They're able to break through Ottawa's 1-3-1, and Ottawa just not have an answer for Pittsburgh's forecheck. It was very much like Game 7 of the Washington series, and Pittsburgh just went at them. They were aggressive instead of sitting back the way they should be playing, especially when they have these types of defensemen that are not great at defending. They were aggressive on the forecheck, and they really pressured Ottawa, and they pressured Ottawa to make mistakes. And that's when Pittsburgh's at their best, and that's the way that they kind of played all this season with Letang. But when you don't have Letang, it's easier to fall back into that defensive shell, which they don't really have anyway, so it's kind of funny. But Pittsburgh really asserted their identity, their style of play, and this is more the team I was expecting to see. Even though I thought that they played fine in Game 1, they definitely need to get more pucks to the net. Insert their speed game more, which is definitely what I thought we saw more of last night. And even though it was 1-0, it was a heck of a game. It was way more exciting than Game 1, which is so boring. Game 2 is much more Pittsburgh style. They dictated the terms, which is when they're at their best, and I would expect to see more of that in Games 3 and 4. I still think it's probably going to go 6 games just because of the Erik Karlsson factor and the Craig Anderson factor, and because Pittsburgh's been very not good in these playoffs, essentially, but Ottawa is definitely the weakest opponent that they've played, and that was the one game when they were really dominant and outshot their opponent by a lot since early in the Columbus series, and that's kind of what I'm expecting of this series. I'd expect Pittsburgh to outshoot their opponent by a lot, just because I don't think Ottawa's as good, and Ottawa doesn't have the horses offensively to, even if it's a 0-0 game like it was last night and Anderson's keeping them in the game, they don't have the horses offensively to capitalize on those odd man breaks, on those opportunities that, say, like Washington did, or that Columbus might have, or that like Nashville or Anaheim will have next round should Pittsburgh get there. So very exciting game overall. I thought Kessel was hilarious, and the players do too. And this looked like the Pittsburgh Penguins of 2016 when they were just dominating teams with their stifling offense. And what they did last year is they always had the puck, so you could not even set up in your zone. They were able to frustrate you with their transition game because you'd make a mistake, Pittsburgh would pick it off, go the other way. That's when they're at their best, and they haven't really been able to do that in the playoffs because the lack of Letang has been so significant. It's been very hard for them to break out of the zone and to get that transition, but we're seeing it now against Ottawa, which is a weaker opponent. They were able to get that transition. They're able to get that breakout to the forwards and make things happen, and I would expect more of this to continue. I hope more of it continues. No Justin Schultz is a big loss, as he was the Letang replacement, as it were. No Brian Rust is also a big loss. But on the other hand, it means that hopefully Mike Sullivan will put Mark Streit in the lineup because he can actually generate offense. He can help on the power play, which has not been great. So that's exciting. So Pittsburgh will be able to generate offense with Mark Streit on the back end. Even though he's old, I still think that he's very valuable. Trevor Daley is closer to returning, but it looks like he's not quite there yet. So hopefully we see Mark Streit tomorrow night. I would really like to see that. Maybe you put Mark Streit with Brian Dumoulin. I think that could be a really good pairing, even though we know Mike Sullivan's going to keep Haynes and Dumoulin together, which has been very terrifying. But Dumoulin looked very solid last night. But maybe put like Mark Streit with Ole Mata or something like that. And then, that's a pretty solid top 4, that Pittsburgh's got going, even without Letang. So that's all I have for this video. Please like it if you like, subscribe if you really like it. What did you think of the game? What do you think of the series? How do you think it will unfold in Ottawa? I think if Pittsburgh continues to play the way that they did last night, I don't think Ottawa has an answer, and it could be a 5-game series. But Ottawa could get a kick out of playing at home, and they'll probably take one at home. Pittsburgh will probably take one, and then Pittsburgh will finish it off. That's all I have for this video. Please like if you like, subscribe if you really like it, share with all your friends, tell everyone, and I'll see you after the next game. All right, let's go Penguins.